Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives after they put out important news. With us today on a Monday, Steve McAuley, CEO, Empower Clinics. You all know him. Trades on the CSC under CBDT, and for our friends in the US under EPWCF. And let's not forget our great friends in Europe and Germany on Frankfurt under 8EC. For those new to the story, one sentence says it all. Empower is an integrated healthcare company that provides body and mind wellness for patients through its clinics, through digital and telemedicine care, and world-class medical diagnostic labs. More than just lip service, they're hitting on all of those, but we're not going to cover all of that because the headline today, I'm going to read it. Empower Clinics unveils the Meta Collective national clinic brand in advance of multiple rolling clinic launches beginning in early September in key Canadian cities. Steve, welcome back, my friend.
Hey, George, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to get back on Agoracom and share what's been going on recently.
I want to dive into some specifics here because some people may not realize there's a lot going on with this press release. But big picture first, here it is. We're in the middle of August, and unbelievable how many press releases you've been putting out since July. It's nonstop, so business is developing. Is this the next and biggest phase of Empower now on the Launchpad?
Yeah, when you say it like that, I guess it really is. I mean, for us, kind of working hard every day, it's almost like you don't realize, I guess the extent of the accumulation of our efforts. But as we announced, today the Meta Collective brand, and we shared, our brand guideline document, and you realize, or I want people to realize just how hard our team have been working behind the scenes to get to this kind of launch, as we say. Building a brand is very difficult. I mean, it's hard work. It's hard in this day and age to come up with a name that sticks, that you can trademark, that you can get a domain, that you can get social media handles, to get a tagline that you can trademark, and logos is all just tough stuff. And I think, it really is kind of a way of demonstrating that, this next big phase is really taking off. And, if any of our followers, ever had any doubts about, what we were building behind the scenes here, I mean, hopefully this kind of ratifies it for people. Is that, now, I don't know why anybody would have any doubts anyhow. I mean, if we say we're building stuff, I mean, we're building stuff, right? And so we're very proud of this new brand, and it's meant to be a national brand. It's meant to stand strong in the communities that we serve, but it's also meant to be a recognizable brand, nationwide and hopefully North American wide in the future.
And quite simply, because I've seen branding guides, I've seen all this before. In fact, I go read the branding guides sometimes of Apple and big companies, because we're looking at that kind of stuff. The simple message, but the powerful message is, you simply just don't go through an exercise like this unless you are about to set out for big game. Right? If you're going to be a local, regional, couple things, you don't bother. You just put up George's Clinics.
Yeah, you wouldn't. You wouldn't bother. It's too much work. It's an investment in time. It's an investment in resources. It's an investment in legal, for intellectual property and trademark searches that have to be done. There's very important decisions that were made all the way along to get us to this point. And I think your point is right on. Like, you just wouldn't bother unless this was meant to be scaled at a national level. And that's what our intent has been from the get-go. It's what we've been communicating from the beginning. It's a reflection on the tremendous partnerships that we've been building along the way with, various groups. And with these pending openings here in the next very short little while, we just kind of get into this cycle that we've been talking about, right? So it's all here and now for us.
And this is a major cycle, right? Because all this time you've been prepping for this, and this isn't just branding and logos, isn't just partnerships, but isn't there a significant amount of work that's already been being done behind the scenes with engineers, construction people? Like, it's a massive endeavor, and I want to make sure shareholders understand just how big of a movement this is.
Yeah, we're in that rhythm. I mean, we have multiple locations under construction in various phases. I mean, just this morning, I signed another construction contract and signed the wire transfer for advances to, you just keep it all going. And so we kind of, you get into this ongoing phase of, negotiating leases, signing leases, getting architects involved, getting your tenants improvements underway, setting ribbon cutting ceremonies, doctors in seats, and we start seeing patients in neighborhoods. And it's just over and over and over. And we will be in this rhythm for a very long time as we continue to grow.
Years.
Absolutely organically with the types of partnerships that we're doing, particularly with our pharmacy network partners, and how we're really doing this as much as possible in close proximity to pharmacies, whether they're corporate or they're independent. And the other thing that kind of layers in that sometimes we can't really talk about that often, but that is the pipeline of acquisitions. So we haven't stopped the deal flow because we feel that strategic acquisitions can plug into the MediCollective also. And so it's not always going to be about just organic openings. It's these one-time big hits that will drop into the MediCollective that also accelerate, our reach across different, locations and provinces. And so it's quite exciting for us for sure.
I know the landscape in Ontario, but I don't know the landscape across the country. Is there anybody else that's got a business model like this? Because I know there are people who have clinics, George's clinics. I've got 10 clinics, great. And I know there's some people who do one-offs where they say, hey, there's a pharmacy there, let me put a George's clinic in there. But has anybody embarked on a massive movement like this?
Well, we see this concept of rolling up, business assets into a larger, conglomerate or a national play in multiple industries. I mean, I have a lot of experience in it in prior years through my automotive and my finance days. And so we're applying a lot of that playbook. I think what's unique for us is our kind of go-to-market strategy in our very close alignment with the pharmacy industry nationwide. Again, whether corporate or independent, both are very important to us. And I think what the pharmacy networks like about what we're doing is, they have their lane and we have our lane, and they're incredibly complementary. And so whether it's us, partnering in close proximity to the pharmacy location itself. So we talk about in a pharmacy, on a pharmacy, beside a pharmacy. But the other piece of it that's so strong and important for us also is our product side of our business. So whether it's our new products through Kai Care, we've got the Medisure assets that we've just recently closed. So we've already started our conversations with our good pharmacy contacts about the new Medisure products that we want to get onto the shelves of those pharmacies. So we've got a lot more. It's not even negotiating power per se, but it's relationship power, right? We're having the conversations with senior management across these great organizations, and so we have those doors open. And as you know, George, it's for a developing small cap company. It can be extremely difficult to open the doors of major corporations. It can take
almost impossible, because I've seen it with hundreds of thousands of companies who have hoped, who have tried, and just never got in the door, let alone create the relationships you created, and now creating the real business lines that that's
with
top 1%.
Yeah, it's difficult. Again, just even in my prior experience, working through that with some major corporations, in some cases, it takes years to nurture a relationship, and you still don't get through the sales cycle. So I can tell, our audience, your audience, that it is no easy feat to, in fact, have these various agreements. And it's not just, we're prospecting, is that we have agreements in place. We have product on shelves. We have lease agreements in place. We have sub-lease agreements in place. And we're making the investment that we have committed to. And so much so, like I say, architects, construction, pulling permits. The MediCollective brand, that we've launched today. Well, what followers should know is that we've already ordered signage using the MediCollective brand because there's a lead time to getting signs made. And so we've been doing all of that already in anticipation of these openings that are thrust upon us right now. Like they're imminent. And so again, back to that rhythm that we're going to have, that cycle. We've been in that cycle. We just haven't been able to talk about the new brand yet. But today we can. Everybody can follow us on our social channels. Go look at the landing page. And that landing page, by the way, is a placeholder, right? Like that website will iterate and evolve and become, deeper and more meaningful to our followers in time. But we had to have something for everybody to land on and take a look at and understand, what the brand stands for.
And there's a good reminder for everyone. I've already done it. Follow Twitter, follow Facebook, follow LinkedIn, follow Instagram, follow all of them.
Yeah, because just engage with us and share, and particularly, if we're going to be in a community that you may be located in, there's even more reason to follow us and get connected because we're doing something important for people in the communities that we serve. It's a very neighborhood focused. It's very neighborhood focused work that we do. Our medical doctors and our admins and our practitioners, like pharmacists, develop deep, long-standing relationships with customers and, in our case, patients that are meaningful because we're dealing with the health of people and their lives and their families.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, before we hop into the ribbon cutting ceremonies, I want to talk about that. But that is so important. We take it for granted. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of us don't have I don't have those relationships. I live in a great area, but I don't have those relationships. I got to go to a doctor at a clinic far away or the hospital. They really don't know you, right? So this is great. I mean, if I had one of these in my neighborhood, that's where I'd be going because I want to have that interpersonal, really close relationship. So I think it's a winning model, and I can't wait to see them launched.
Yeah, and going back to why our alignment with pharmacy networks is one of the great strengths of pharmacies is how deep their relationships are in the the postcodes, the neighborhoods that they serve. It's what underpins, honestly, the reason why people become pharmacists, because they do impact patients' lives every single day, and we get the opportunity now to do that in conjunction with the great pharmacy team members that we're aligned with.
So let's talk about the fruits of the labor now. Let's talk about the juice, because I'm sure the ribbon cutting ceremonies, the first new clinics, I'm presuming you're going to be here in Ontario for those and those locations. I'm going to be there, that's for sure. And I think we want to get as many shareholders as possible out to these, because we want to show everybody, hey, this is it. Here's what we've been working towards, what you're investing in, and here's what we're creating. So what are those, what do those first new clinics launches look like? I know you can't give us specific dates, but what should it look like?
Yeah, the dates are very close, right? And we've got our two new independent ones are the ones that are lining up first, because the shell of the clinics and the treatment rooms were already in that real estate. So the speed to market in those situations was very fast, and tenants' improvement costs are very low. So it's really just lining up the timing, lining up the doctors, dealing with the kind of the procedures of opening. And I definitely intend to attend as many of these openings as possible. I do encourage shareholders in the particular region to join us, because I think we need to celebrate. I think that
that's what I meant. We
need to celebrate. We need to get as much press and coverage in that local community as we possibly can. and share the fact that the Medic Collective brand is open and alive. We're open for business. We're open for patients to come and seek appointments with doctors, and then let the process begin.
Let's revisit the economics a little bit just to make sure everyone remembers that. I'm taking a recent quote that you had in one of your recent press releases. I'm reading here. With an estimated annual revenue of $2 to $4 million per location, it's not an understatement to call this a big acceleration of our game-changing growth strategy for both our patients and shareholders. Those economics still on track? Nothing's changed there as far as what your expectations are?
Yeah, the economics are thankfully somewhat predictable. It's a function of square footage of a particular location, which determines how many treatment rooms are available. Then you multiply it by how many medical doctors that we can have and how many paramedical service providers we have. And then it's a little bit formula based. So as we increase our roster of patients, we increase the number of patient visits with doctors. And don't forget as well that telemedicine really begins to play a very big role in this. So it's with the acceleration and now actual billing codes being made available for telemedicine or virtual care, the brick and mortar aspect of it definitely is in play, but the telemedicine service offerings and virtual care offerings really lay over top of that as well, along with the specialized services that we've been talking about, because they really kind of change, how would I describe it? They move the needle on the high quality additional margin that specialized services bring to our business model.
You've already announced teledermatology with MedX Health, for example.
Yeah, teledermatology will be coming online immediately with these openings. We know that we've got, we're targeting London, Ontario, I believe, and the Lakeshore location for sure, because of the square footage that's available there. And we want to get into that pilot, right away. We think it's an incredibly important service for Canadians. And we think MedX has got a really, neat technology that needs to be explored. We've also got cardiology services coming along behind that as well. We believe cardiology is another specialized service that we can play a big role in our communities in conjunction with telemedicine. So it'll be, quite a lot of, follow-on announcements once the locations are open, but it's everything that we've been telling everybody. There's no surprises here. This has been planned out from the beginning, and the business model is just now evolving, and it's just becoming. I guess I would say it's just much more tangible now with the launch of the brand today.
But I'm glad we've had this conversation, because there is a tendency for some people to think, even fans of Empower, right? Empower Nation. There might be some people saying, come on, let's just open clinics. It's just a case of stock some shelves, open some doors, get some doctors aside, and let's get going. But you really have, this is like serving an 8-course meal to a lot of guests. You have to go through so much prep, but once the prep is done and everything is ready to go, then you can start serving your guests, and you can unroll this 8-course meal. That's where you guys are at right now, right? You've done all the prep, and there was a ton of work to get it done, but now you're ready to start serving. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, you just, it's not realistic to say, hey, you just snap your fingers and all of a sudden, 2 weeks you've got a health center opened up. I mean, we're dealing with medical doctors, we're dealing with practitioners, we're dealing with landlords, we're dealing with pharmacy partners. There's a lot going on here to coordinate, and it's also, this is serious. This is serious investment that we expect stable long-term returns on as a business model. So we have a number of moving parts, but we've got really good team members, particularly being led by Dr. Jordan and Dr. Aviv, who are experts at this. This is not new for them. So, they know what they're doing. They've got a playbook that they're executing on. All that we're doing as the public company is providing the additional resources to them to have a substantial business model. Not a one-off, hey, I got one clinic here and one clinic there. This is not about that. This is about rolling up with scale and taking this thing nationwide.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people who have, in my years, a lot of people I know who have started clinics, and that's exactly what it is. It's George's Clinics, and he's got a couple here and a couple there, and great, but there's no cohesive brand, there's no synergy, there's no crossover, and there's certainly no scalability to it. It's just muscling out one. And by the way, it's a great business if you can do that. If you can open up 4 or 5 clinics, you got 4 or 5, you're great. But there's no scalability to it. I've seen that.
Yeah, and a lot of those situations that and we see them because when our pipeline of acquisitions, that's what we're looking at, right? We're looking at these, 2, 4, 8, 10,
a lot of those,
brick and mortar groups that are out there that have spent many years, organically growing. But the difference that we have is, we have the power of the public company and access to capital markets, incredibly strong investment banking support as needed. And we're investing. But again, that investment, once we get a location open, that starts to become an annuity for us. It's quarter in, quarter out, quarter in, quarter out, very sort of predictable revenue and cash flows. But then as we layer on our telemedicine capabilities, we layer on our specialty services, that's where we really increase EBITDA in this business model. And that's kind of the blend that we have. The other thing that I think sometimes is lost or maybe forgotten is the business model approach that we have in aligning ourselves in close proximity with pharmacy groups also is strategically so important because we literally get to reduce our costs up front. We get to reduce our ongoing costs of overhead because we're sharing that with the various partners that we're working with. And the formula is very different for each one, but because of real estate, square footage, the particular brand that we might be working with. But we are absolutely leveraging the importance of having medical doctors in close proximity to pharmacies and how valuable that is to pharmacies and their business model, because it keeps traffic in the doors of that pharmacy and it drives prescriptions into that pharmacy itself. And obviously, consistent prescription traffic is very important to the business model of a pharmacy.
Are you still on track for having 30 clinics open or in the open phase by the end of the year? Because you had defined that a couple of times earlier this year, and you're still on track for that?
Yeah, it's really about the definition. It's in that phase and that cycle that we're talking about. So, I don't think we've ever indicated that we'll have 30 full openings or operating by the end of the year. I think the only caveat to that is if some of our acquisition pipeline, continues, here in the 3rd and 4th quarter, and we get them closed and now they're part of the Medi Collective and they're operating. That's how that maybe accelerates to actually physical open clinics. But that phase, right now still seems to be on pace from what we can tell. And we're just going to keep driving towards that. And, I think as we can be more accurate with it as we get, deeper into the 3rd quarter and into the 4th quarter, because we'll have a fairly clear indication of the timing of our pipeline. But our pipeline has always been very strong.
What does 2022 look like now that you're getting going? Now that the machine is going, it only, when a machine gets going, it starts to accelerate if you're doing it well. And I think you guys are going to do it well. It remains to be seen, but I think you do well. How do you think 2022 looks like? I'm not trying to pin you down to a number and say how many clinics you have in open or opening phase, but how does it look like, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just, it will. What I'm excited about for 2022 is when we start to talk to the street, talk to our shareholders, talk to, the investment banks, and we've got research coverage, and we're talking about now annualized run rates, right? And we're starting to talk about how that compares to TTM, so trailing 12 months versus forecasted annualized, because as we have a clinic opened, we've now got a level of predictability on that annualized run rate. So if we get, clinics opened in the third and fourth quarter of 2021, we now get 12 months of that revenue run rate in 2022. And so think of it like building blocks. It's just going to start to stack, quarter over quarter over quarter. And we get this matrix where we know how each month stacks upon the next month and the next month and the next month based on the schedule of openings that are coming in. The other thing that we're working on right now is really figuring out what KPIs we should be talking about and reporting out on a regular basis. I think we need to do a better job in understanding those key performance indicators, and then let them be benchmarks as we have these building blocks coming online in the future. And we're doing that across the board. So I think we're going to find ourselves trying to isolate down what we do on the clinic side of our business, and then isolate down how we talk about the product side of our business and its KPIs, because those KPIs will be different KPIs than the clinic KPIs. So we're really working hard right now behind the scenes, because our investment banks that we work with, want us to be able to talk about it and articulate it. We're updating our investor relations material right now to be a better reflection of where we're going in 2022 and beyond. We're in this kind of iterative phase right now. So you used the word Launchpad earlier with the MediCollective. It's launching not just the MediCollective, it's launching a number of other activity. And typically what I find is that when we're in this time of year, like August, and there's a lot of summer holidays and people are away, it's a great time for reflection. It's a great time to bring the team together. I just came off our AGM this past week here in Vancouver. We held it at the Wedgwood Hotel, but we took advantage of that time to bring in my leadership team from around the country and board members up from the US, so that we could take some time with ourselves to kind of, really get get aligned in our objectives, get deeper bonding with team members, and really feel like everybody had clarity around our business model. We brought in Mario Cortez and Roberto Cortez from Medisure. Really got a lot of value from having those guys come in and share their expertise on product and the Medisure business model. And we learned, we started to set goals already about what we're going to do together and how we're going to resource them. So, I find that this time of year, I try to do, a lot of that work. So by the time we get to, Labor Day and everybody's getting back to, full work mode, we really take off and have a solid, end of the year.
And we're not going to talk about those things now, but that's the amazing thing about Empower, which is we've spent 28 minutes talking about the clinic, the expansion, everything going on. And if that was all Empower had, it's a fantastic company. But you've also got Medisure and Kai Labs and and the products. And that's the power of Empower. And that's why I can't wait to see how this unveils for the rest of 2021, but especially in 2022, because as you said earlier, as you're bringing on these pharmacies, they tie into product.
Well, they
do.
Acquisitions,
they tie into product, and the whole organization just starts to really exponentially grow.
Well, it does. I mean, we have a very clear strategy here that, if the clinic and health centers, the MediCollective are one pillar. We've got, product R&D with, Kai Labs, Kai Care, and now Medisure. But in all cases, it's a close alignment with pharmacy channels. And so as much as we're opening clinics with pharmacy channels, we also have, Kai Care at-home COVID tests are literally on the shelves of pharmacies today. We're now up to a dozen pharmacies, Save-On pharmacies. We've got Save-On's individual Save-On pharmacies actually reordering now because they've sold their kits. We delivered to some independent Pharma Choice pharmacies already, both our Care at-home COVID tests and actually rapid antigen tests as well. So all of these conversations are accelerating, and now we've got Medisure. And so this week already, we're talking to our pharmacy partners now about Medisure, which is now a wholly owned subsidiary of the public company. And those conversations are just, let's get on the calendar. It's
an example of a great business that just wasn't positioned to scale. In comes Empower, adding on structure, resources, financing, and you can blow that thing out of the water now.
Well, and that's exactly that. So we have an expectation that we have an expectation of growth with Medisure. We don't have detailed numbers behind it yet. The team at Medisure are going away, coming off of our executive retreat with some objectives, some marching orders, and really come back and sort of augment their business plan for growth. We have already established new meetings with some of these big pharmacy partners with Medisure this week, because we can make that phone call and the door gets opened. We've got them already working on their submission for the FDA to set them up to be able to enter the US market, which is 10 times larger market. And we've got an established relationship already that we previously announced with Tabula Rasa, who's got 15,000 pharmacies in their network. And so it's kind of that playbook should be able to be replicated in big markets like the United States as well. So there's a lot of interesting things being foundation that's being built, George. So that as we go to 2022 and 23 and 24, we really see that acceleration in our top line revenue model, and then EBITDA that gets thrown off from it.
Steve, we could keep going on and on, that, because we love talking about Empower, but thanks for this update, because it really, and I promised everyone this at the beginning of the interview, this wasn't just a new brand, logos and trademarks press release. It was the foundation of something way bigger. And look at the conversation that we've had in the last 30 minutes. And this is just the last piece, right? The branding, TMC was a critical but last piece of the puzzle that's necessary to create the brand. But in order to get to that point, you've grown everything underneath that in order to support the brand. I think everyone's heard it loud and clear.
Yeah, building blocks, right? We're putting a foundation in place that we can build upon, that will be strong enough for the type of growth initiatives, and the growth desire and appetite that we all have. But you have to put building blocks and foundation in place, and we've been doing that all along. We know what we're doing behind the scenes all along, and we have to just continue to articulate it and communicate it appropriately and clearly and with transparency. But nobody should ever doubt how hard we are all working to build a tremendous professional organization.
I'm going to end off by saying I think you've articulated it. I think you've been very transparent. But no matter what, seeing is believing. Yeah. Right. I think you had that in the press release too. But seeing is believing. When the first clinics start to launch, the ribbon cutting ceremonies, there's Steve, there's the team, there's the doctors, the whole organization. I think that's when the Empower story, just like you said, becomes tangible. Everybody says, holy moly, they're going to be 5 of these, and then 10, and then 20, and then 30, then God bless 50, 100, a couple hundred of these going forward. And I think that's when it takes on a whole new meaning. So thanks for joining us today. And by the way, you said earlier, everyone's kind of on vacation. I'm on vacation. I'm in California. That's why the lighting's a little off. I'm in a hotel room. But you're going to be in California next week. So hopefully we'll do a little impromptu video. Just by fluke, you and I found out that we're going to be a block away from each other. So we'll do a little impromptu selfie video to talk more about the company, maybe even answer some questions. You know what? Now that I think about it,
maybe let's set up some Q&A.
You know what? We'll set up some Q&A, and that's what we'll do.
Yeah, we've got a week, sort of to get that organized. But yeah, let's get some, new fresh questions from the audience, and then we can address some of them together.
All right. Thanks for joining us, Steve. Congratulations to you,
Yeah.
the entire team, because this is a monster organization you put together to get to this point. So congratulations to everybody. Can't wait to see you next week. And for everybody watching and listening at home, especially for the investors who live in Ontario and the GTA, can't wait to see all of you on a few occasions starting in September. We all see each other's face to face and enjoy the celebration together. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, George. Appreciate the time.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or you've been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform, to Steve McAuley. He's CEO of Empower Clinics, trades in Canada under CBDT, in the US, EPWCF, and for our great friends and supporters in Germany on Frankfurt under 8EC. For those new to the story, you got to start your due diligence. 2 ways to do it. 1, get to the company's profile page in the Agoracom. 2, get to the company's actual website. And 3, because you've got brand new tools now, get to all the social media channels for TMC. All right, get to all those, start signing up for them, take a closer look, and be there if you can for the ribbon cutting ceremonies in Ontario, because that's the ultimate due diligence. Have a great day, everybody. See you next time. Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Agoracom small cap video.